My husband's mother insisted on hosting our wedding at her backyard. She changed the guest list, canceled my caterer, and told the DJ, only play songs from our side of the family's culture. When I complained, she said, this isn't your day, it's ours. I bit my tongue until she grabbed the mic during our first dance and said, time for a real couple to show how it's done. I walked off the dance floor and straight to a judge. I met Evan in Lexington, Kentucky, in the fall of 2019. It was one of those slow Saturday mornings when the farmer's market sets up on Main Street and the air smells like coffee and fresh bread. I was eyeing some homemade apple butter when he struck up a conversation about fall flavors. He was sweet, kind of awkward, but in a good way. He made me laugh. And after 2 years of dating, I thought I had found the one. We got engaged in October 2021. He proposed during a hike at Raven Run, right when the leaves were that perfect shade of orange. It was just the two of us, quiet and simple. I said yes because I loved him. I really did. But if I had paid more attention to the warning signs from his mom, Darlene, maybe I would have seen what was coming. Darlene never liked me. She never said it directly, but it was in the way she smiled at me. Tight-lipped, eyes cold. She'd compliment my dress but then say, it's brave to wear something so bold with your hips. Or she'd say, you speak Spanish? I just don't see the point. We're in America. I'd smile, ignore it, keep the peace. Because that's what we're taught to do, right? Especially with in-laws. Keep it light. Be polite. But when we got engaged, Darlene went from annoying to controlling. I wanted a small wedding at Talone Winery. Open air, vineyard backdrop, close friends and family, simple food. Evan said it sounded nice. But when we told his parents, Darlene's whole face dropped. Oh no.
No, no.
You're not spending all that money when we've got a perfect backyard right here, she said. Her backyard was big, sure. But it wasn't a vineyard. It had rusty patio furniture and fake flowers stuck into the ground. Still, Evan looked at me and said, it'd mean a lot to her.
So I gave in.
Darlene said, this wedding isn't just yours. It's a family celebration. I didn't argue. That was my first mistake. I tried to plan what I could control. I picked a caterer who understood my vision. Comfort food with Latin touches. Tacos al pastor, fried green tomatoes, cornbread with jalapeno honey butter. Food that told both of our stories. 2 weeks before the wedding, my caterer called me, sounding shaken. Hi, we just got a call from someone named Darlene. She said our services weren't needed anymore. What? She said she's replacing us with someone else. I called Darlene immediately. Oh, honey, she said, I saved you money. You're welcome. I called my cousin Stan.
He does barbecue.
Real meat. None of that spicy stuff. Spicy stuff. I repeated, stunned. Just something simple. Nothing weird. I was so angry I couldn't speak. When I told Evan, he sighed and said, I'll talk to her. But he didn't. That was my second mistake, trusting him to stand up to her. Then came the guest list. I gave Darlene a finalized version with names, addresses, and RSVP counts. I thought that was that. Turns out, she never sent invitations to half of my family. She sent out her own version with a different RSVP number and a different address. People started calling my mom saying, we never got anything. My cousin Maria, who was coming in from Ohio, showed up to the wrong house. And when I asked Darlene about it, oh, your handwriting was messy. I just tidied it up. I checked the RSVPs. Almost all of them were her family. Maybe 5 people from my side made it to the actual wedding. When I told Evan I was furious, he said, let's just get through the day. Then we'll talk. That was mistake number 3, assuming I'd get through it. The morning of the wedding, I had to do my makeup in her bathroom. The air conditioning was broken and the sink was full of curlers. Darlene wore a floor-length, bright white dress. When I said something, she laughed and said, oh, don't be silly. Mine has sequins. Yours is plain. The ceremony was awkward. The chairs were misaligned. The arch looked like it was made from PVC pipe, and the officiant, her nephew, ordained that week, Forgot to say the vows until I reminded him. But I smiled. I tried to keep it together. Then came the reception. We were supposed to dance to Stand By Me. It was our song. I had emailed the DJ our whole playlist weeks before. Instead, he started playing polka music. Loud, blaring, unrecognizable. I walked over to him and asked, "What is this?" He said, "The mother of the groom said the bride approved a cultural shift in the playlist." "A cultural what?" "She said you were fine with it." I looked across the yard and saw Darlene sipping a margarita like she was queen of the damn ball. But I kept calm. Until our first dance. The DJ finally started the right song. Evan and I took to the floor. I was trying to block everything else out, focus on this moment, just us. But halfway through the song, Darlene grabbed the microphone from the DJ booth. "This is cute," she said, "but now it's time for a real couple to show how it's done." She yanked her husband up and waltzed onto the dance floor, pushing us out of the way. The crowd cheered.
People clapped.
I stepped back. I felt heat crawl up my neck. My hands were shaking. Evan just shrugged like it was no big deal. That was it for me. I turned. I walked off the dance floor, through the side gate, got in my car, and drove straight to a diner on Georgetown Road. I called Natalie, my best friend and a divorce lawyer. "Do you know a judge?" I asked. "I need this annulled. Tonight." She was silent for a second, then said, "You serious?" "Dead serious. Because this wasn't a wedding. It was a hostile takeover. And I was about to take it all back. So there I was, sitting in a half-empty diner in my wedding dress, eating fries and staring out the window while my phone buzzed nonstop. Evan called 12 times. I didn't answer. Darlene left a voicemail. "This isn't how mature women behave. Grow up and come back." I deleted it. Natalie met me there in sweats, no makeup, hair in a bun, holding a file folder and her car keys. "I talked to Judge Randall," she said. "He's not gonna annul it tonight. But we can file Monday morning." That was good enough for me. I went home to my apartment. Not the condo Evan and I were supposed to move into, my apartment. I peeled off the dress, tossed it in the tub, poured bleach on the hem, and watched it fade. It felt good. Monday came. We filed. That's when the real drama started. Evan showed up outside my work the next day, pacing in front of the building like some lost puppy. I had security tell him to leave. He wouldn't. So I walked outside. "Can we talk?" he said. "Please." I agreed to 5 minutes. "I didn't know she was going to do all that," he said. "I didn't know she canceled the caterer. Or sent a different playlist." I stared at him. "Then who told the DJ to only play your family's culture? Who stood there and let your mom hijack our first dance?" He had no answer. "She's just intense." "She meant well," he muttered. That made me laugh. A bitter, cold laugh. "I was your wife. For 6 hours. And in those 6 hours, you chose her over me every damn time." He reached for my hand. I stepped back. "I don't want to fight," he said. "Let's just go to counseling. We can fix this." "No," I said. "You didn't lose me because of a fight. You lost me because you let her treat me like trash." He left after that. But Darlene didn't. The next day, my boss called me in. "She sent an email to the office," he said, sliding it across the desk. "Claimed you're mentally unstable. Said you're taking company resources for personal revenge." I read the email. It was long, filled with half-truths and exaggerated claims. She even pasted screenshots of old Facebook posts where I joked about drinking wine after work. "She CC'd your clients," he added quietly. "I'm sorry." My hands were shaking. My boss was decent. He knew it was garbage. But the damage was done. I filed a restraining order that week. Then I started documenting everything. Darlene made one final mistake. She sued me. Yes, sued me. For emotional distress, claiming I defamed her by abandoning the wedding and smearing her name publicly. She thought I'd back down. Thought I'd be scared. What she didn't know was that I had been quietly working with a reporter from a local paper, someone who had covered community events and weddings. And she loved a scandal. I gave her texts. screenshots, emails. I showed her receipts from the caterer, records of the canceled music plan, even a copy of the DJ's contract with notes in Darlene's handwriting. I showed her the guest list, with half my family missing. The reporter published a piece, "The Bride Who Vanished: When Wedding Dreams Meet Family Nightmares." It spread fast. People started talking. The comments on Darlene's social media turned. Suddenly, she was the one defending herself. Then I found out something else. That free barbecue her cousin Stan served? The health department shut him down 3 weeks later for food poisoning complaints. He'd been cooking out of a garage. No license. No inspection.
Several guests got sick,
Including one of Darlene's sisters. When the health report went public, Evan's family started turning on each other. Darlene blamed Stan. Stan blamed Darlene. Evan tried to call me again, said this wasn't what he wanted, that things were spinning out of control. I didn't answer. Because I was just getting started. A month passed. The courthouse was quiet the day of the first hearing. Darlene strutted in wearing a blood-red suit like she was about to win a pageant. Evan walked beside her, eyes down, hands in his pockets. I didn't look at him. I walked in with Natalie and a folder thicker than a Bible. Inside was every lie, every petty act, every humiliating email Darlene had sent. We weren't even there for the divorce. That would come later. This was her civil case against me. She wanted damages for humiliation and loss of social standing. She really thought she had a case. Until Natalie stood up and started reading. Emails where Darlene admitted to fixing the guest list. Voicemails where she mocked my mother's accent. Screenshots where she wrote things like, "Her side of the family isn't real culture." Then Natalie dropped the bomb. A private Facebook group Darlene had made, saving Evan from that girl. Posts dated before the wedding, talking about how she was going to rewrite the wedding and push out the noise. The judge looked over his glasses. "Is this real?" Natalie nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." And her signatures on every comment. Darlene turned red. Evan looked like he wanted to crawl under the bench. The judge dismissed her claim with prejudice, which meant she couldn't refile. She hissed as we walked out. "You think this is over? I'll make sure you're never welcome in this town again." I smiled.
Good.
I wasn't planning on staying, but here's where things took a turn. I wasn't planning on staying, but my job had other ideas. After the court hearing, the same reporter who covered the wedding mess reached out again. She wasn't just a local writer anymore. She'd been recruited to work for a regional lifestyle magazine. She wanted to do a follow-up story, something bigger. She pitched it as a feature on modern in-law horror stories. I said yes. The article came out titled, "She Stole My Wedding, So I Took Back My Life." It wasn't just about me. It featured other women, too. But my story opened the piece. Full photo.
Full timeline.
Names changed, except for mine, because I wasn't hiding. It blew up. By the end of the week, I got an email from a small publishing house in Louisville. They asked if I'd ever thought about writing a book. Funny thing is, I had. For years. I'd just never had a story worth telling. Now I did. But here's where it gets messy again. 3 weeks after the article came out, I got a letter. Not from Darlene. Not from Evan. From Evan's new girlfriend. Apparently, he started seeing someone 2 months after I left. A woman named Caitlin. Mid-20s. Used to work at the local spa. The letter was short. "Hope you're happy. You embarrassed an entire family and didn't care who you hurt. I'm going to be Mrs. soon. And unlike you, I know how to respect a man's mother." I laughed when I read it, not because it was funny, but because I realized something. They were still blaming me, still acting like I ruined everything, like I had crashed the wedding. But I was done being polite. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I decided to finish the book. And the last chapter? That's still coming. I worked on the book for 6 months. Every night, after work, I'd sit with my laptop and pour everything out. Not just about the wedding. About the whole relationship. The red flags I ignored. The moments I made myself smaller to keep the peace. The The silence I chose instead of standing up for myself. I named names. I changed some small details for legal reasons, but anyone from Lexington who read it would know exactly who I meant when I said, a woman in white sequins who thought the day was hers. The publisher loved it. We signed the deal. A real advance. A real contract. The title? The Wedding That Wasn't Mine. By the time it hit shelves, the buzz from the article was still going. Book clubs picked it up. Bloggers reviewed it. It even landed on a small-time bestseller list in Kentucky. That's when everything blew up. Darlene's social life?
Gone.
People who once attended her brunches suddenly had excuses. PTA moms skipped her calls. Her Facebook page turned quiet. Someone even graffitied her white fence with "Control Freak" in red paint. Stan, her cousin with the illegal barbecue setup, was fined again, this time for trying to reopen under a new name. Health department flagged him. Word got around. He lost his food truck. And Evan? Evan married Caitlin within the year. I didn't attend, obviously, but I saw pictures. Darlene wore another white dress. Caitlin smiled through her teeth. 3 months after their wedding, Caitlin emailed me again. Just so you know, your stupid book is ruining our lives. Evan is embarrassed. His job's getting weird. You should be ashamed. I wasn't. But I did feel one thing. Clarity. See, I wasn't innocent either. I stayed silent too long. I let myself be walked over. I gave up my venue, my food, my culture. I tried to keep the peace when I should have spoken up. That's on me. But once I did speak up, once I stopped letting shame keep me quiet, everything changed. The final nail came 2 years later. I was invited to speak at a women's conference in Nashville. The theme was red flags and gut feelings. I stood on stage in front of 200 women and told my story from start to finish. Afterward, an older woman came up to me, maybe in her late 60s. Sharp eyes, strong hands. She said, "You did what most of us only dream about. You walked away before you had kids. Before you gave up everything. That's not weakness. That's power." That's when I finally stopped feeling guilty. Darlene tried to own my wedding. Evan tried to ignore the damage. But I took back everything they tried to erase, and I turned it into something stronger. So no, I didn't have the wedding I planned. But I got something better. I got my damn voice back. And they can't take that from me. Not ever again.